First of all, hello, this is Rinpoche, and it's wonderful to be in such company, if somewhat reduced company, and I'm really sorry that you're sat kind of pretty much in the full span of my peripheral vision, so it's going to be quite difficult to feel like I'm addressing all of you, but I'll do my best. It's an honour, obviously, to be here in Bhutan, to be at the conference. And I'm actually going to be talking a little bit about honour today. I'm talking about promise over process, contemporary application of Vajrayana Samayas, or Tantric Samayas. And this really is a paper that explores the 14 root vows, primarily of the Nyingma tradition, and with particular reference to the Tantric Samayas of the Ngak'chang. See if I get the right button. Yeah. The holders of the non-celibate ordination stream of Buddhist practice. As you can see there, we have the word dancing as well. I'll be focusing on the application of these vows as a framework for ethically inspired living. Not just for Vajrayana vow holders, but also actually for interested laity. Values such as honour and integrity appear to be losing some traction. They're losing importance in society, and that is going in tandem with a rise in narcissism, in both the grandiose and the vulnerable manifestations of narcissistic entitlement. So honour has become rare, or is becoming rarer, in a world where psychological process takes precedence over promise, where I, me and mine are prioritised over us, we and ours. So the rights and the mores of the individual outweigh the needs of the community, the needs of the group. Even in Bhutan, where the concept of tadansig is enshrined in the society, social media highlights a similar creeping erosion of values. Dancing means sacred word, sacrosanct pledge, vow, oath, and commitment, which is how I'm really going to approach it today. The capacity to make and keep commitments is the mark of I would argue, is the mark of a responsible adult living as a decent human being. When we fail to keep commitments to other people, we become unreliable. When we fail to keep commitments to ourselves, then we lose self-respect and an ability to trust in ourselves and in our word. Without that trust, we have no reliable base for taking effective action in society. We become lost in a self-absorption which occludes the possibility of authentic kindness. Keeping commitments, of course, is not always convenient. Kindness is not always comfortable. But through kindness and commitment, we become honourable. Honour in Vajrayana, actually it should be another one there. Yeah. Is that too small to read, or can you read it? Honour in Vajrayana is encapsulated in behaviours which are described by the root vows. These 14 vows are found in all Vajrayana schools, although the wording and the presentation varies according to lineage and vehicle. The same vow will be explained differently depending on the view of the Tantra to which it pertains. There are also branch vows which vary in number and character according to lineage. Traditionally, this material was considered secret and reserved for individual transmission to disciples in Vajrayāna. Now this information is translated into many languages and is published in books and online. Specific branch vows, but the 14 root vows are common knowledge. As this is the case, I'm not going to talk about those really at all today, not in terms of their application, in terms of Vajrayana practice. That will be known to most of you, I'm sure, or can be referenced either in the paper or elsewhere. Today, in contradistinction to that, I'm hoping to highlight their usefulness as guidelines within a secular context. But it's really important that you hear me when I say that my intention is not at all to replace, supersede, or what else did I put, diminish their sacred application. Their profound religious significance and importance as a path of practice is not in question. But what is perhaps less obvious is that they can be applied by anyone in their quotidian life. The 14 root vows form a series of interrelated directives which can function on every level for any human being who has the interest and the inclination to investigate them. My aim, therefore, here is not to reduce the importance of the vows, but actually to extend the possibilities of their application. This has reference for Vajrayana, or relevance even, for Vajrayana practitioners, by expanding possibly their understanding of how each moment and each aspect of life can be imbued with the felt experience of Samaya. But an understanding of the broader application of the root vows can also provide inspirational life guidance for those who may never take Vajrayana vows. And as such, they do actually provide the possibility of engendering compassion and cohesion in every section of society. This paper primarily, not entirely, but it primarily describes the 14 root vows, which are common to all schools, and 28 branch vows of the Arrow-tare. The Arrow-tare is a terma revealed by the female Teton Kyungchen Arrow Lingma, who lived in southern Tibet, sort of on the border of Bhutan actually, from 1886 to 1923. The secondary revelation of the terma came from Me-tsal Lingpa, known as Ngak'chang Rinpoche, the current lineage holder of the Arrow-tare, along with his Sanyum, Khandro Déchen. According to the Arrow-tare, the basic 14 root vows are termed vows of speech. The accompanying 28 branch vows are divided into vows of body and vows of mind, 14 of each. The paper goes into detail on all of these branches, but there's no time today to look actually at all probably at the vows of mind, or at more than one aspect of the vows of body. That aspect of the vows of body is found in the final 11 of the 14 root vows. So I'll just, to put it in context, just look briefly at the first three. These form a distinct group, and they all relate to the Lama, or Lamas, to teachers, and the practice of taking the three kayas of the Lama as the path. These vows are the foundation of the 14 root vows, in fact, and they constitute the most profound method of Lama Rinpoche, of Guru Yoga. They're the essence of the path in terms of Dzogchen, and they're a means of living every moment and utilising every moment of life as practice in the context of our relationship with the teacher or teachers. This is, of course, actually the commitment to our own intrinsic Vajra nature, as reflected in the being of the teacher to whom we've established commitment. I mentioned the aspect of the vows of body, which is to be found in the other 11 vows. And this is a somewhat elusive subject, the Namgyurs or demeanours. These provide a remarkable set of gestures, really, for manifesting kindness. This set of gestures is, you could call it religiously poetic, perhaps, but they're available for anyone interested in exploring and implementing them. The word demeanour is inadequate to describe the range of meaning conveyed by Namgyur. They're found within the vows of body because they are physically sensed and sensing characteristics. Demeanour is a way of being in the world, which communicates both outwardly to our environment and inwardly or reflexively to ourselves. The practice of Namgyur has a profound influence on both our own self-view and on our communication with others. The Namgyurs are manifested on the basis of mere indication. One simply has a felt sense of a directive, and on this basis manifests a particular Namgyur: blacksmith, poet, dancer, artist, hunter. Vajrayana ideals of nobility, heroism, and perhaps number 10, warriorship, are familiar, although their subtle manifestation in terms of body perhaps less so. Other Namgyurs need further explanation, perhaps. A Namgyur such as a lover and one who communicates with birds of the air, for example. This is concerned with that vow 11, vow of body, the Namgyur from vow 11, a lover and one who communicates with birds, is concerned with opening the sense fields. If you think of a lover, or perhaps you are a lover, I hope you are, lovers inhabit a realm of sensations which are strong, fluid, communicative. There's an energy and an excitement there in which the environment around us is infused with a sense of the other. Communicating with birds of the air requires sensitization to subtle phenomena. The world is alive with infinitely variegated expressions of compassion for those who place no limit on the language of the senses. The birds with whom we communicate might be actual birds, but they can also be whatever arises in the sky of mind or in the skies of the sense fields. Training in a particular artistic discipline, becoming a blacksmith or physically becoming a mother, is not necessary with the practice of Namgyur. The suggestion is simply held in mind. If one becomes sufficiently familiar with these mere indications, the possibility exists for that particular mode of compassionate communication to arise in response to life. The Namgyurs provide the possibility of moving beyond self-imposed limitations and of expanding our experience of being. This, in turn, increases our capacity for kind and creative action in the world. You'll find a discussion of all of the other Namgyurs and other aspects of the remaining vows in the paper. I'm going to look briefly now, and I think it will be briefly, at some of the vows and how they might function in a secular context. That is, how can they guide us to live kindly, creatively, and effectively? With time short, yes, you can probably see that one. Again, I'm going to look briefly at the first two in tandem, so never contradicting or denigrating the Lama and never contradicting or denigrating the Lama's advice. In ordinary life situations, we rely on others to teach us skills, information, or to provide us with expert advice in areas where we lack the knowledge. If I ask someone to teach me to play the piano, for example, and then I proceed to disagree with or disregard an instruction they give me because I know better, then the learning situation is non-functional and my piano playing is unlikely to improve. Similarly, if I hire a mechanic to service my car and decide to deride and dismiss her advice about needing new brake pads, despite a lack of much motor expertise or experience on my part, I might just drive myself into a problem of my own making. Once we choose a teacher, an expert, or a professional, in any sphere of life, after researching their suitability and their credentials, once I've chosen them, then the only functional way forward is to respect and follow their advice. And if I want the best out of the relationship, I'm going to do that enthusiastically and courteously.
If we can conclude, I'm sorry, we're just a couple minutes over.
Oh, I will be very quick.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Ultimately, all the vows are about manifesting kindness in both their sacred and secular applications. If we take a vow such as number 13, never refusing to partake of meat and alcohol in Sokolo, that is the symbolic enactment of transcending the pure-impure dichotomy as a practitioner, then the implications outside Vajrayāna might not be so obvious. You're going to have to wait or ask me in a tea break what they might be because we've run out of time. So I'll conclude by saying that whether we are talking about mundane commitments or the practice of Tantric Samayas, there is a power in the very nature of commitment, a simplicity that cuts against our tendency towards complexity. Having made a commitment, we can bypass or dispense with the interminable internal debate, the vacillation, the procrastination of distracted conceptual mind. These vows are a vast field of inspiration to those who are open to it. It is possible for us to live up to vows rather than living down to the mediocrity of a world bereft of ideals.